we're back with another Q&A. So welcome. Anything I say is not intended to bypass your medical care or cure any diseases. Check with your doc before implementing any of the things we're going to talk about. But we're going to try to rapidly get through as many questions as possible. So I think we should just dive right in, Steve, and see what we have.
I agree. Why don't we start off with Lou Yu? I went carnivore day 6 from SAD. Do you know what that is? SAD. When does
Intermittent diet.
Thank you. When does the diarrhea stop? I've been forced. I shouldn't laugh at that. I've been forced to OMAD because I'm scared to eat at work. Help.
Well, I think it's a lot of change for your microbes, and your microbes are like, hey, what's going on here? So you might have to not go back to SAD, but maybe go back to something that's a little upgrade and slowly ease into the carnivore because, maybe your microbes are so adapted to one way of eating, all of a sudden you shift and you put them in a state of shock. And usually diarrhea is related to the microbes. So, but in the meantime, to stop the diarrhea, what I would do is I would add blackberries with kefir, plain, blend it, consume that. That usually is kind of my go-to remedy. So go ahead and try that and see what happens.
Very good. Well, we've got a couple of guests, and one that we're very excited about is Fatima. She's calling from Boston, and she has a optical appointment where they're probably going to blow that little terrible puff of air in her eye. But I digress. So she'll deal with that. But in the meantime, she has a question for you, Dr. Berg. And let me cut on her audio. And Fatima, go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg.
Hi, Dr. Berg. I'm very excited to talk to you. And I'm Arabic, and all my country, they follow you and they watch you. Thank you. I appreciate for all what you do. I appreciate that. So my question is, I have thyroid peroxide, Hashimoto. It's from 2017. And from 2017, I didn't get I refused to take the medication until last year. Last year, one of the doctors convinced me to take the medication. So I start with 25 microgram. So before I start medication, it was up and down. Sometimes 3.75, sometimes 5, and it goes and 7, and sometimes it goes down. But when I accept to take the medication, I start with 25 microgram. I didn't see any advancement. I didn't see any results, any good results. The thyroid still going up. And they told me, oh no, you don't need 25. We're gonna increase the dosage until 50. I said, okay. I take 50 milligram, and after 3 months, I went to check up, and they said, no, it goes up to 7.01. And I told them, hey, I take the medication. Didn't expect that. It's like I didn't take the medication.
Right.
The question, should I take the medication? I'm very confused. Should I take the medication or not?
Let me explain that, okay? Of course, I can't tell you not to take your medication or to take your medication, but I can give you my 2 cents on probably what's happening. 90% or over 90% of all hypothyroidism is the Hashimoto's type. That's an autoimmune condition, very much different. And I personally, my viewpoint is it's not really necessarily a thyroid it is affecting the thyroid, but it's more of an immune problem than a thyroid problem. And so here you are trying to manipulate the numbers, and it's not working because the deeper problem is not being addressed. So if you have low amounts of thyroid, you would think in your mind, oh, I'll just take more hormones and everything will be back to normal. But that doesn't work because you haven't addressed the root cause. So there's a really, really good interview by a Greek doctor medical doctor. He specializes in autoimmune and this other thing called metabolomics. And you should watch that interview because we go through everything. It's probably a couple weeks ago, might have been 3 weeks ago, but his name Dr. Dimitri. But I'm not even sure what I title it. It could have been just, I think, Hashimoto's or hypothyroid. You should watch that and maybe even reach out and get a test from him specifically. Now, as a side note, there's one thing that I think would be very beneficial for any type of autoimmune, whether it's a MS, rheumatoid, Hashimoto's, all these, and that would be high doses of vitamin D3. I'll be releasing several videos of this, but you have to realize what's happening is have this inflammatory state because your body has these antibodies against your own tissue. So the most important thing right now is to reduce the inflammation in the thyroid, so that way it can start working on its own. So you're not necessarily having to add more hormones or whatever. So vitamin D is the ultimate regulator of inflammation in the body. It's a natural thing.
Yeah,
But chances are, if you
sorry.
have autoimmune, you have resistance to that vitamin D. So you need to take a lot more. And if you watch my videos, I'll kind of show you how to do it, what to check for to create a therapeutic effect.
Yes,
Because
that's what I try to say now. I just watched your video last time, and now I follow everything because I'm gonna check again after 3 months. So I took this now, cod liver, I don't know, cod
yeah.
liver, uh,
So not to get into too specifics because we're running out of time, but I will say that cod liver oil is good,
and
but the
vitamin D.
main thing that you really need is going to be high doses of vitamin D3 with the K2 and magnesium
Yeah,
because um,
yes,
that, Corumbro, it's called the Coimbro technique or protocol from a doctor in Brazil. He goes through and has a really great technique to monitor the amount of vitamin D. So that way, you know it's working inside the cells. So there's a lot more to that. I wish we can get into the details right now, but that would be my general thought on what's going on. Your problem is more immune related, so you have to kind of go in that direction. But thank you so much for
please,
coming
can you
up.
tell me how many doses for vitamin D? Just
I
that
don't I can't
last,
tell you
last.
because that's that would take about a half hour and we have a whole show. So this is just a one quick question, unfortunately. But if you watch my videos on that, you can then go to his website and learn about the dosage of how many you should take and when to take it and
Yeah.
what else to monitor because it's a more of a complex uh, answer to that question. It wouldn't be as simple.
Yeah. Well,
But
Fatima,
thank
by the
you so much
way,
for coming up.
you bet. And Fatima, we'd love to hear back from you. Say in 3 months, you said you got this sort of, deal you're doing. So please get back with us and let us know what improvements you found. And thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah,
We
sure.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate.
You bet. All right, thanks. That was wonderful. Why don't we go back to some social media? Good luck to you, Fatima. I hope they don't puff you in the eye too hard. Okay, let's see. I can't even say this name. Azabek, let's call it that. Hello, I have only a belly and lower body fat. Can keto help with that? What do you think, Doc?
I think it could. I think it could. I think that would be the first thing I would do. I would do a healthy version of the ketogenic diet combined with some intermittent fasting. I think that would be the smartest thing to do because if you want to tap into the belly fat, you want to address the liver fat first. So this would help you reduce the liver fat, and then there won't be any more spill off going on into the abdomen area. So yeah, start with that, and then I have a lot of videos on that, so you can study that out.
All right, let's go to another YouTube caller. Janice, Dr. Berg, what is a natural alternative to Jardiance for AFib? Have you heard of Jardiance?
Yeah, I'm not. I can't comment on medications, but I will say atrial fib. One thing you should do some research on is low magnesium. Okay, low magnesium. Magnesium is a super important mineral for the electrolytes that powers um, the energy for the nervous system. And when you lose that, you get short circuiting going on in the pacemaker of the heart. So start looking at that area. I think it'll be very fruitful for you.
Okay, very good. Sama mouse, is glycerin toxic to use on the body, I guess, topically?
No, it's not toxic. It's actually sweet. Um, but it doesn't apparently raise your blood sugars too much. So I think it's non-toxic. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, great. Let's see. What else am I doing here? Next question. Christine Barnes, for fasting, you mentioned bone broth should be avoided. How about chicken broth? Is there any difference between Mr. Chicken and Mr.
The
Cow?
bone broth is providing collagen, and if you're trying to do fasting and get the benefit, especially from autophagy, the only reason I would actually add the bone broth is if you've done prolonged fasting and you're feeling weak, and then maybe you need some of that. But typically, I wouldn't add that into a fast simply because it's going to break your fast because there's protein involved.
All right, very good. Home Vlogs is the handle for this person on YouTube. I'm a 43-year-old lady, very young, by the way, suffering from hormonal imbalance. Please advise me on some specific foods for good health at this young age. I put the young in there, very young lady.
Anytime you're running into the change, like even like a pre-menopausal, let's say, you're getting some hormonal changes. The first thing I would look at is making sure you're getting the raw materials for your own hormones to build those. And thing that comes up is cholesterol, to actually increase more dietary cholesterol. So you have the building block for all the steroid hormones that you need, the sex hormones. So that would be a good tip. Don't try to go low fat. And if you're on a statin, that could be the reason why your hormones are off, because you're starving them. And that's what happens with even men too. The testosterone goes down because you took away the enzyme action for making sex hormones when you're on a statin. Like, oh yeah, lowered your cholesterol, but did you really improve the health of the person? It's debatable. So that would be a tip. But you know, the endocrine system is connected to a lot of the autonomic nervous system. It's all connected. So yes, there are specific remedies and things for that, but I think don't forget to get on the basic healthy eating plan overall, because you really want to start there first and not just try to like patch a hole in the bucket with a
Yep.
remedy.
Interesting stuff. Okay, Machiavelli, I like that name. What are your thoughts on dry fasting?
Yeah, that's fasting done without water. And now some people will criticize me and say, "Oh, yeah, that's really dangerous because we need to drink water, water, water." So here's my viewpoint on that. I think there's some interesting data on doing intermittent dry fasting. So somehow we have this concept that we need to continually drink water. Well, what if you're not thirsty? What in our history with starvation, with being out in the cold, with severe dehydration, like how many times have our ancestors went through a time where they didn't find water? So I believe there's all sorts of survival genes that turn on when you maybe do a little bit of dehydration therapy, just like you would do CO2 therapy or hypoxia therapy, where you're running up a hill and you're trying to restrict your breathing, or doing intermittent fasting, or you're adding this little stress in short doses, and then you're backing off to let the body heal. I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, the intermittent dehydration. And there's some great data about doing that. And I have a video on that. And I think you should try it and see how you feel. But let's say, for example, in a given day, you drink 2.5 liters. Well, let's say, for example, you did it where you didn't drink any of the fluid until maybe just 2 hours out of the day, and you drank most of your fluid in those 2 hours instead of spreading it out. That would be interesting to see if that could speed up the benefits from your fast. I've heard people that went longer than that, a couple days of no water and things like that. But we're not trying to dehydrate you. We're just trying to create intermittent stress to create a positive change. And maybe you go into this by doing a super hydration, and then you go for a period of time, and then you drink after some hours. So it's something to look at. I like it. I think there's something to it. And also realize that when you're in fat burning, your body is making some water. So that's a fact. But we're not going to get into that in this presentation.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Doc, I was one of those victims of drink, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And I would get up 42 times a night. And you finally mentioned, you really don't need to do that. I mean, how healthy is it to not sleep? And so now I just drink when I'm thirsty, as you said, and I now sleep most of the way through the night, which I'm very pleased about. And so enough of that nonsense. Thank you for your advice.
I think that would be like a perfect example of a completely fixed idea that people have, that we're just told, that we just know without data, because we're so taught to drink. And I mean, it's just very interesting. And all of a sudden, the sensation of thirst is just no longer valid. Well, wait a second. I thought, isn't thirst like somehow we all lost this sensation of thirst overnight? Well, as we get older, like, really, is that a fact? I don't think it is. I'm not thirsty at all during the day. I don't drink hardly any water during the day at all. I'm not thirsty until probably 5 o'clock, and that's when I drink, and I drink a lot of alcohol. No, just kidding. But then I'll drink for a little bit, and then I won't drink right before bed, but I'm not getting up through the night. So anyway.
Well, I'm joining you in that. I'm getting a nice night's sleep. Let's go to our first question for the day, presented to the world's smartest audience.
Okay, what is the worst ingredient for the liver? Hint, it's not sugar, it's not high fructose corn syrup, or it's not trans fats. What's worse than all three of those?
I'm sure the audience is going to figure that out. Let's go back to social media. And this time...
oh, by the way...
yes.
And I didn't talk about it. Alcohol is not part of that. Okay, so we're not even talking about alcohol.
You mean the question?
Take that out of the equation.
Okay, so yeah, no alcohol included here, folks. Just,
even though alcohol will destroy the liver, we're not talking about alcohol in this question.
Okay, forget alcohol. Drink less. All right, Edgar so-and-so, what are your thoughts on skim milk? I've never heard that question about that before.
No, I think I wouldn't do skim milk. I would do whole milk if you're going to do milk, and do raw whole milk if you can get it. When you pasteurize the milk, the way that they know that it's pasteurized is they kill this enzyme, this phosphatase enzyme. And there's a problem when you do that with the body. You can start to develop calcification. So our bodies are not designed to do a lot of pasteurized products. So anyway, I don't recommend it.
Okay, well, there you have it, audience. Let's see, these great names. Let's see, this person claims to be Abanabapia, and I'm sure I said that wrong, but it's just a handle anyway, from YouTube. Is garlic supplement good as the natural bulb of garlic?
I don't think it's as good, but it's probably pretty close. I think sometimes when you ferment garlic, you enhance the benefits, and also aged garlic. And sometimes when you heat garlic, you have these enhanced things. But with garlic, I don't think it's the one that really improves with heat. I think there's so many benefits with raw garlic as well as fermented garlic, and even garlic extract. It's probably been the most researched of anything. I mean, it's anti-cancer, antiviral, antimicrobial. It's good for your heart. It's a natural blood thinner, helps your blood sugars. I mean, it pretty much does just about everything. But of course, it gives you that bad breath, Steve. So that could be one of the drawbacks.
That's all right. Well, that'll keep away all my suitors, for goodness sakes. Anyway, as consumers, you look for garlic supplement or vitamin B. There's 5,000 of them, and many of them have 5,000 five-star reviews. But as consumers, I think most of us, we don't really know whether it's working or not. How can we swim through all that, Dr. Berg, beyond the great host of supplements that you have, which we start with? But many times you say, no, go get that somewhere else. What do we do?
I think here's the thing. It's like when you search for something, people are like, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for someone to do double-blinded clinical trial on a nutrient. Well, good luck. Who's going to spend that money to do that study? I think the next best thing is to actually read legitimate successes and see how other people are benefiting it. I think that's a valid way to see if something's working. If you read the reports on that, but can they fake them? Sure. But if you start seeing a common thread with a lot of people are happy with something, it's worth a shot. Try it yourself and then see if it works for you. So I think that's what I would do. I just find something that has a lot of great reviews, read the reviews. I do know there's certain companies that will pay you for reviews, or they'll give you a free something with reviews. I don't like those. You can pretty much see them because the reviews are more like, yeah, this is great. Oh, okay. That's not helpful to me. I need to know specifically what did it do to you.
All right, very good. Here's Sam 00. Acne in a 30-year-old man. That does stink. What's going on with Sam?
Well, of course, I would go back to the original diet. Like, what are you eating? Typically, when you eat more carbs, you're going to get more androgens, and you're going to have a bigger sebaceous gland and produce more sebum, which is the oil, which is could create a problem because the microbes, bacteria on your skin, they eat that oil, and so you're giving them too much food. So I would look at that. There's other remedies that you can try as well. There's a lot of remedies. One would be vitamin E. Now, I had bad acne going through high school. I wish I would have known back then what I know now, because I would have completely avoided all the problems that associate with that. But go back to the basic eating plan. That should handle it. And that's what I recommend. You can find this just by going to drberg.com and then clicking the video tab. And that's the first video. This is what to eat. So start there.
Well, Sam, we're pulling for you because that's a terrible thing with all the things men have to deal with, and women. That's a rotten one to be still fussing with in your 30s. So good luck with that, and eat well and live long and strong and so on. All right, let's see. Namana, can sesame seeds increase copper and zinc?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But I will say that probably when you're consuming like a whole food like that, it's probably not going to throw off your minerals compared to a refined food. So I couldn't tell you. Maybe you have an easier question, Steve, for me?
Here's one from OMAD. I bet this is real easy. Why does apple cider vinegar not trigger any insulin, even though it has calories in it?
Because it's a very unique it's actually a type of fat, believe it or not. It's a fatty acid. And it's like a small chain fatty acid. And that acetic acid actually feeds your gut. Your body can use this as fuel. Your microbes can use it as fuel as well. And it has this fascinating benefit of making insulin more sensitive and helping your blood sugars and helping reduce fat off your liver. So it's a really interesting molecule that has a lot of cool benefits. And I consume it on a regular basis, diluted with a straw.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to our first quiz question, which asked, what is the worst ingredient for the liver? Hint, not sugar, HFCS, or trans fats. And you added in there, not alcohol, but they decided to use alcohol anyway. So 20%.
I know they were going to do that.
They did it. And as follows. So 20% split 10 and 10 is peanut and Tylenol. 10% say fructose. 20% say seed oils. And here you go, Doc. 40% we're sticking to alcohol.
Well, it's seed oil. Now, what's really interesting about this topic, there was a study done on rats. And what they did is I wish they did a fourth category, but they had three different diets for these rats. They had one group of rats that consumed alcohol and lard. Okay, that's pig fat, and they had the next group consume alcohol and tallow, which is beef fat, and the third group consumed alcohol and corn oil. And the corn oil group with the alcohol created severe damage to the liver and created a fatty liver. And there's some additional data that I'm going to release a video on this that talks about why the seed oils are even worse than trans fats, because they get stuck in your tissues for like 2 to 3 years, compared to like, even if you do high fructose corn syrup, it's not going to stay in the body until you burn it. It'll burn off a lot quicker. So it's a little less damaging, even though it's kind of like alcohol. But what was fascinating between with the beef fat and the pork fat is the beef fat actually did some protection against that alcohol and created no bad effects. So this kind of is kind of a shocking thing, because you would think that, we know alcohol does to the liver, but if you add beef fat, it kind of gives some protection, apparently, to mice. So if you have some pet mice that are drinking, add some beef fat in there to protect their livers, Steve. The pork fat didn't add as much protection, but it did. There was some minimal damage to the liver. But I wish they just did a straight alcohol test and gave those mice or rats some alcohol and see what would happen to do this experiment. But I do know seed oils are nasty stuff for the liver, because it creates inflammation, and that it's going to create insulin resistance, a fatty liver, more inflammation, scar tissue, cirrhosis. So I think that's at the bottom of so many liver problems, is this seed oil crap.
Wow. Lori and I had a friend that had a pet rat, and it would jump from the top of the refrigerator to his shoulder, and Lori would almost faint. She hated the thing with its skinny tail. So some people do keep rodents as pets. And here is our next quiz question for the day, Dr. Berg.
What kind of exercise burns the most calories per unit of time? So there's one exercise that you're going to burn the highest level of calories per unit of time in the world compared to all of the other exercises. What would that be?
Well, I'm excited to hear that. And so the audience is going to give us an answer, I'm sure. Okay, let's move on to the next social media deal. And this is Laura Lindsay. Any advice on dry mouth at night?
Yes. Tape your mouth shut and go to bed. And you can get one of those the nasal tape to open up your sinuses and start breathing through your nose, to train your body to breathe through your nose. It's going to be slightly restricted at first. But I'm doing this right now, and it's actually really, I like it. But you're getting more oxygen, because with the sinuses breathing through your nose, you're not going to end up with a dry mouth, and you're also going to have more. It's going to condition the air to humidify it, clean it out, purify it to a way that you're going to get a right amount of CO2, and you're going to get more release of oxygen to the cells. So it's something you have to train your body, but I think you're probably just breathing through your mouth too much, and you can put a little tape right here on your mouth and try to practice breathing through your sinuses.
Very good. Okay, JJ, I bet a lot of people, well, maybe they go through this. Any advice on severe nausea and upset stomach when starting keto? I am without a gallbladder, so maybe the gallbladder does it.
That's a real good indication that you need bile salts, like a gallbladder formula, to help you with that symptom. If you don't have a gallbladder, you're probably going to be deficient in bile. And so here you are on this high-fat diet, low carb, and you might not be able to tolerate that, because your body has to adjust to this new diet. So you might want to cut down on the fat and also add more bile salt to your diet. And the way that you know that you're not overdoing it with the bile salts is that if you don't get diarrhea. So because if you have constipation, you take bile salts, that usually remedies it. But if you have too much, then that can create diarrhea. So you want that sweet spot right in between.
Okay, Ali Abdil Gaming Good grief, these long handles. Is intermittent fasting safe for a 13-year-old?
It all depends on the health of the child. I think what I would do, in practice, I have had people at 10 years old that were just obese and they need to not have all these snacks. So I think it's a smart thing to start off with no snacks, okay, 3 meals, and then see how it goes. The main thing is, are they getting enough nutrition with the meals that they're consuming? And if you have less meals, are they going to get the same or actually more nutrition? Are you doing nutrient dense foods? These are all the key questions because getting healthy is not just about adding more calories or more meals. It's about the nutrition in the meal. So that would have to be evaluated and looked at to see what you need to do. But depending on the weight that needs to be lost, maybe you go down to 2 meals a day.
All right, very good. Why don't we go to Isaac, who's been waiting patiently. And Isaac, let me cut your audio on. And remember, Isaac, one question in 30 seconds, and Dr. Berg will take good care of you. Go ahead with your question, please.
So I'm 22 and was diagnosed with UC about 3 years ago. My first doctor told me keep eating regular food and take meds till they don't work anymore, then surgery. A new doctor wanted to start injections or infusions. There's many other factors, of course, but now thanks to your videos, I completely changed my diet and I'm finally out of a bad flare-up. My main question is, what diet did you first put GSP on that was successful for him? I know in other videos he said he's now on one big carnivore diet or meal a day, but was just wondering if it started with like healthy keto, phyto diet, neither, or where you kind of started with him.
Yeah, good question. I think that it really depends. So you've probably changed your diet. You're doing better. I think the more severe the inflammation in the gut, the more you need to do carnivore for a while. And then you test the waters because some people don't have it that bad. So they could do some cooked vegetables or fermented sauerkraut with their meat. But to heal that gut, you need a good amount of glutamine. And the best source of glutamine is in meat and beef. But I would also take it as a supplement too, because that glutamine within 30 days can literally close up the holes in your gut and help heal you. But I think it's one of those things you have to experiment because there's not an exact science. And let's say you don't do any testing and you just go on carnivore and just see how you feel and do that for a period of time. Maybe reintroduce some vegetables, but you have to realize that if you put too much fiber, boy, that's just going to stir things up like a hornet's nest for someone that has ulcerative colitis. But I think you're sounds like you're on the right path. It's just what's good for you. You just have to test it out because we don't really know for sure.
Okay.
That's
All
great.
right,
What a great call, Isaac. Thanks for keeping that so brief. That really helps us move through a lot of stuff. And good luck to us. And as always, we want to hear back from you, Isaac, in some time and see what kind of progress you're making. That's the whole point of this show. So thank you for being such a great caller. Okay, let's go back to answer our second quiz question of the day. And Isaac, this is for you too. And it asks, which kind of exercise burns the most calorie per unit of time? And the audience, let me grab the little ticker tape here. 10% say walking, I don't believe that. 30% high intensity training. Let's see, the next category says cross country skiing, bicycling, running, and that was, I forget the percentage on that, but however, resistance training, 30%, and the other one was 30%, bicycling, skiing, cross country, etc. So
okay, so these exercise, I'm going to release a video on all these different. There's like 40 different exercises, and we rate it by how many calories per unit of time. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do a lot of these high intense exercises for an hour, okay? Because everything's based on how many calories per hour, so it's impossible. So what we compared is the exercises based on just a unit of time. So it's apples to apples. And so if you were able to do a certain activity for a whole hour, how many calories would you burn? Okay. And we're not taking in consideration all the other effects that can happen with high intensity exercise, like stimulation of the growth hormone 48 hours after when you're sleeping and all that stuff. We're talking about calories burned. And obviously, it would be the most intense exercise that works both upper and lower body. And so there's a lot of things that can do that. But apparently, based on what I researched, the top one is sprinting, flat out sprinting. You can't go an hour, but you can probably go 15 seconds until you run out of, energy, and then your system will have to rest. But the point is that that's like super, super intense burning calories, this high level sprinting as fast as you can. And one thing I like about sprinting, and other exercises do come close to that too, like if you're doing some type of sprinting, up a hill, for example, or you're doing your rock climbing, or you're doing cross country skiing. There's all these exercises that burn a lot. But I think with the sprinting, you could, if you were to be able to work out for an hour, you'd probably burn over 1,000 calories an hour. So, and then you go all the way down to how many calories you burn when you're sleeping or sitting there. But just for Steve's sake, because I know you're interested in burning calories, Steve, when you're sitting there at night snacking on popcorn, if you fidget more, you can burn a couple more calories an hour. So you can fidget more. If you chew gum, not while you're eating the popcorn, you can burn a couple more calories. And also, if you're laughing, you can burn a couple more calories. So those are just some extra tips for Steve in case he wanted to take it to the next level from
hang on, I'm writing it down.
Sitting to burning a couple more calories, Steve.
Fidget and hope for restless leg syndrome. That should help.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Okay, here's our next question. This is a true falser, so everybody can be smart. And there it is.
True or false? Potassium softens your arteries and lowers blood pressure.
Simple question. Jump on it, audience, and let's go to our next brilliant question. Let's see. How about Langemeyer something? What is the main cause of teeth grinding or tooth grinding?
There's a lot of mixed ideas about that. Some people say it's parasites. Some people say it's stress. I think it's probably a level of stress that's going on with the body. And so one thing I want to say about stress, when you have mental stress, you're going to activate cortisol, but you can also have a physical stress going on in the body because your energy factory, the mitochondria, is not working that well because you're eating the wrong foods. So when your body decreases the ability to produce energy, it compensates with adrenaline. So, and then that adrenaline is going to release a lot of stored sugar in your liver, and that's called glyconeogenesis. So, and that adrenaline could create the grinding of the teeth, possibly. So, the solution is to fix your mitochondria, and I have a lot of videos on how to do that. Get your eating corrected. I'm going to be releasing a video. It took me a long time to do because I went to a family's house, evaluated what they had in their pantry, in the refrigerator, all on camera. Gave a little seminar to the family, told them what to eat. We shut out the junk food, went to the grocery store, replaced it with the good stuff. And what was interesting is I noticed the benefits was just a lot less physical stress with the bodies and a lot of energy. So stay tuned for that video. It's going to come out soon. And I think it's a bit longer, but I think it's very interesting. And we're going to be doing this to several additional people just because we're really interested in getting people off ultra processed foods.
All right, very good. Saldo 10 from Rumble. We love you, Rumble. After 2/3 months of carnivore diet and feeling like it healed my Crohn's, how should I be reintroduced to other foods back? Should he?
It's up to you, but I think that if you're going to transition off that, I would start with a small amount of vegetation. Maybe the sauerkraut would be a really good one because it's fermented. Then maybe add a little cooked vegetables and slowly increase it. I have done some videos telling people to consume 10 cups of salad or 5 cups of other vegetables for nutrient reasons and things like that. Um, Here's the problem that I'm running into on a big scale. You got to have somewhat of a healthy gut to handle that. So a lot of people are not going to do well if they do that much fiber. It's just too much. So I think it's an individual thing that should be tested out with you to see how you do. Some people do fine with 10 cups. Some people can only do 2 cups. So I think I would play around with that number because it's not a one size fits all, Steve.
All right. Well, neither is quiz questions. People have different opinions. Our true falser of today said potassium softens your arteries and lowers blood pressure, and 25% of it say it's true, and the remaining 3/4. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. 75% say it's true, and 25% say it's false. Who's right?
Found some really good research on this topic. And yes, it's true that potassium actually softens the inner layer of your arteries, and it directly helps you reduce blood pressure, potassium. Now, think about this. The main diagnosis with hypertension, the main type of hypertension that most people are diagnosed with is called essential hypertension. Steve, you know what that means, that word essential?
No.
Okay, it means unknown cause.
Interesting.
So wait a second. 90% of, with all the money put into research on high blood pressure, you're saying to me 90% is unknown? Like, wait a second. There's something weird about that. Of course, they're focused on sodium. And let's get rid of sodium. Sodium does tend to harden arteries a little bit if it's too much, but the whole key is to have enough potassium to sodium, or your ratio should be 2 to 1, twice as much potassium to your sodium. And that's like the most important thing, but just getting enough potassium is very important for cardiovascular health, especially to help lower your blood pressure. So I will create a video on that and get that out soon as well.
Okay, we talked about drinking or not drinking earlier. Here's a quiz question that deals with that.
Okay. Dehydration will change the color of your urine to what?
Pretty straightforward audience, so climb on that, as I know you will. And let's go back once again to Rumble, who we love. And let's see, Emertobilios. How do you feel about the blood type diet? I'm a type A vegetarian diet.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in that diet because if you look in the back of the book and you look at the research, it goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. Look it up. Show me the data. It sounds like it's a cool technology, but I've not found that there's no real substance or foundation for that theory.
All right. Well, let's go to LLP from YouTube, who we are so glad they're joining us. No hatred toward YouTube, but great love for Rumble. How do you enjoy a cup of Joe if you are on OMAD? I guess with cream or something.
Well, you can, there's just not a lot of calories in the coffee. So as long as you're not adding anything to it, just drink black coffee, and there's hardly any calories. It's not going to interfere with your autophagy or your ketosis. And a lot of people are doing it with great success. I didn't know this until recently, but even your mitochondria has some benefit from caffeine. Fascinating. So that's one of the reasons why you'll get energy, is because it definitely helps part of a little piece of your mitochondria. Steve, I'm doing a major deep dive into the mitochondria because I'm fascinated with it. And I have almost every single textbook known to man on the topic, and I'm reading them all and finding some just unbelievable information that then will help me kind of do a video and summarize it and simplify it because it's very, very complex. And so anyway, it's when you go to school and you take biology or you take biochemistry, at least at a high school or even like a college level, I'll guarantee that 99.99% of all the students in that class don't have a clue what the Krebs cycle really is. I'll guarantee that.
Wow. Well, I've heard a lot of doctors admit it. I know this one vertical tube of stuff, and outside of that, I'm really like everyone else. So if you have a hangnail, I know all about it, or appendicitis. But otherwise, your guess is as good as mine. Okay, so let's see what the audience's guesses were on the latest quiz question. And it says dehydration will change the color of your urine to what? And let's see, 50% of the audience said it'll turn it yellow, 20% say it'll turn it orange, and 30% say it'll turn it brown.
So the more dehydrated you are, the darker it'll become. So it'll be like maybe a darker amber brownish, because if you drink more water, okay, and you're super hydrated, or maybe even hydrated too much, it's clear. So it's going to be just a little bit darker when you're dehydrated, Steve.
Absolutely. And like I told you, in the middle of the night when I used to chug, it was clear, 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 clear 42 times a night. So stupid. Why didn't I figure that out? Okay, let's see. Let's go to the last quiz question. We've caught up, and oh no, that's not the quiz question. This is, and here you have it.
Okay, which vitamin is the most important in helping with vertigo? Vertigo is the sensation you're spinning when you're not spinning.
Wow.
So what is the most common vitamin deficiency for that?
Okay, A is the person's handle, and this is from YouTube. What is your advice for kidney stones and back pain? I guess you get back pain from kidney stones, right?
Yeah. You want to immediately start increasing your fluids to at least 2.5 liters to probably 3 liters of fluid a day. That'll at least keep your the super concentration level to have it less concentrated. So that's going to help you. Avoid oxalates like spinach, almonds, chocolate, things like that. And then also take more lemon juice in your diet, maybe 2 or 3 ounces a day, to give you the citrate to help connect and prevent the formation of calcium with oxalates. Now, you could just on Amazon buy these little strips that measure your urine. And usually on those strips, it'll tell you how much calcium is in the urine, which will then tell you, maybe I need to do something about that too, because if you're getting too much calcium in the urine, that can be available to be connected with the oxalates, because your body also makes oxalates. So typically, it's not, kidney stones don't really come from too much oxalates in the diet. It's more of a genetic issue where you can't release the oxalates that well because the kidney is a little bit of a problem. So that being said, those are some tips I would recommend to kind of put things at rest and to keep it under control. But if you have a kidney stone, taking more magnesium and potassium can help lower the risk of that, as well as vitamin C, even though people will say the opposite. That's not true.
All right, there you have it. Nausea. My acid is affecting my throat and making me nauseous. Please help.
Well, it sounds like you have acid reflux, so you're going to have to fix that. You may have to fix that with an acid. Look into my videos on indigestion or heartburn, and I explain exactly what to do with a remedy called betaine hydrochloride. Now, there are situations where you have too much acid production. It's called gastritis. That's different. It's different. So some people get relief when they take acid. Some people it gets worse when they take acid, but that's going to be more rare. So if you do have gastritis, then the remedy for that is to suppress the H. pylori microbe. And if there's an ulcer or gastritis, the best remedy for that is to take something called zinc carnosine. Why? Because the zinc is a natural wound healer, but the carnosine breaks up into 2 parts, and one of them is the precursor for histamine. Now, I know you think histamine's being mainly related to like an allergy or something like that, but there's another purpose of histamine to help regulate and moderate the cells that produce acid in your stomach. This is why we have these H blockers, histamine blockers, as acids. So, zinc carnosine is a natural histamine blocker without the side effects. So it's really good for an ulcer, and it's really good for gastritis.
Wow. Now listen, audience, you know perfectly well I have a terrible time pronouncing stuff, and you got all these names. So here we go. Gababababababui, or so on, wants to know, does keto improve autism in children or in Steve?
I think, I don't know, but I think you should try it. I think it could help. As one of the pieces of the puzzle. I know with autism, there is high levels of what's called oxidative stress in the brain cells. So there's a high correlation between people that have autism and also eating too many carbs. So cut the carbs down, all of a sudden you get better, because when you're running on ketones, you get a lot less oxidative stress, less problems with that. I think it's part of the answer. There's some other great remedies that can help with this oxidative stress, one being sulforaphane as a remedy. It's in broccoli sprouts. There's many others, but that's the area that I would dive into to help yourself against this oxidative stress. And to make more glutathione, you need more glutamine. That could be one other additional thing to do. But yeah, watch my videos on that topic to get more data.
All right, very good. Ramaran 15, can ghee, and in parentheses, A2 cow, inflame the colon? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's not going to inflame the colon. It's going to help the colon. First of all, when you take ghee, you're not getting any protein. There's no protein. It's clarified. It's gotten rid of. So you're just getting the pure fat, and that's not inflammatory. It's anti-inflammatory. So I think it'll be fine.
Wonderful. Okay, Patriot, Noi FS Girl is apparently the name. How do you manage menopause issues and cortisol naturally?
Start off with making sure you don't lower your cholesterol. Make sure you have enough cholesterol so you then can make the precursors for your sex hormones called DHEA and pregnenolone. It wouldn't hurt to get a blood test to measure those two, because you could easily get either one of them as a supplement to help you. There's a couple other things that I would do to support the adrenals, maybe a whole desiccated adrenal support. Maybe I would recommend ashwagandha. Maybe I would also make sure I'm taking enough vitamin D and zinc. There's a lot of things that can go on. I think the wave of the future is going to be that metabolomic testing, because it allows us to look beyond the blood test and what's deep into the cells, and to figure out what your problem is, regardless of what it is. So that's an area that I'm very interested in. I'll be doing more videos on it, but stay tuned for more of that. But there is a way to test. It's called metabolomics, and to look at everything. So you can actually just get a snapshot, a picture of what's really going on with all your biochemistry. And from there, you can see very clearly where the problem is. So you're not guessing. And one of the worst things in medicine right now is just all the wrong diagnoses people get. Like, it's all in your head, or, here, take this psych drug, you're delusional, whatever. So it's just, you're giving people wrong diagnosis all day long, because you don't, and even just the, it's just kind of like, let's just give the person a medication for their symptom. But people want to know what's causing it. What are the links? What can I do naturally? But unfortunately, that's not part of that system.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, the audience on this last question today, which asked which vitamin is the most important in helping with vertigo, they had a broad range of ideas. 2% say zinc. Let's see, 30% say B12, 10% say K2, 55% say B1, 1% C, and 2% D.
If you think about it, what do we have with vertigo? We have usually calcium carbonate that is in the wrong part of the ear, and it's floating around as a crystal in the wrong part of the ear. It's deeper into what's called the semicircular canal, which does something different than the inner part of that ear, which is just before that. And that's where you normally should have these weights on top of this mucus layer where you have hair, because normally we should have these calcium crystals to add more mass to make more sensitivity to these little hairs that are in a gel. And I'm going to release a video on this topic, but the point is that sometimes it loosens up and it goes down too far. And the body should, in theory, absorb it quickly if there's enough vitamin D in that fluid. If there's not, then you don't get the absorption. I mean, think about what happens in your colon. What does vitamin D do to the calcium in your colon? It helps the absorption by a factor of 20x. So, what kind of fluid is in your inner ear? It's lymph fluid. Same thing applies. If you have the right concentration of vitamin D, you can absorb more calcium into the tissues. So anyway, that's a really good solution. Stay tuned for that video on the topic.
All right, very good. We're going to wrap up the hour with all social media. So Tricia Ann, what are some natural treatment for chronic fatigue?
I would start with fixing the motor, your mitochondria. So what the mitochondria is it's a machine that extracts electrons from your food, and it turns that into a battery. If we take your mitochondria and we stretch them out and we flatten them, the size of that surface area would be about 4 football fields. The voltage in your mitochondria is roughly about 150 to 200 millivolts. If you were to shrink yourself down and put yourself into that space, the voltage would now be about 30 million volts. It's like the same as a thunderbolt. So you're dealing with physics. You're dealing with an incredible electrical system that is turning chemical energy into mechanical energy into, well, actually mechanical into chemical to mechanical to electrical energy. That's what's happening. And then you have this little motor that's doing the work, that's helping, that's spinning around 400 revolutions a second. That's as fast as a jet engine. You got that going down there. So when you really realize that the amazement of what's happening, that might motivate you to eat healthier and fix that machine so the energy starts going up. On a rare occasion, it could be you're tired because you have Epstein-Barr virus, which you're going through stress, so that's being reactivated. But chances are I would start with the diet and fix your energy through getting on the healthy version of the ketogenic diet.
All right, final question for the day, I think, and this is from Nala Folly. It's an interesting question. Are stainless steel pots harmful for my hyperthyroidism or perhaps anything else?
No. I think stainless steel is a really good pot to cook with, and I think there's going to be no problem for your body versus the Teflons and the other surfaces that could break up and create issues. And on that note, thanks for your questions. Thanks for your attention, and stay tuned for some more videos tomorrow morning. So have a great weekend.